Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be using the Lightwish pigments that they had sent me in their Starry Color series. Now I got the dark ones and it comes with 5 colors. It comes with deep gold, deep blue, deep purple, dark green, and a dark red. I'm using 4 out of 5 of those colors today just to kind of play around with it and see what we can come up with. Now, I know I said in my last video that was the end of the Valentine's Day stuff, and it was supposed to be. This one I had kind of earmarked for my next series coming up, which is going to feature kind of wedding-ish engagement type decorations and whatnot that we can make. But this one kind of, the finished piece is kind of less wedding-ish in my opinion and more Valentine's Day-y, so I'm just gonna, I guess, go with the Valentine's Day thing on this one, and we're gonna call it a day on the Valentine's Day stuff and be done with it after this video, I promise. Alright, so the first thing that I want to do is I have this beautiful mold, and it's a heart mold, and it's got flowers and just all kinds of really cool designs in it. So because the designs are set in deeper than the rest of the mold, what I'm going to do is I'm mixing up a little bit of my Nic Pro resin and some of these colors that I got off of Lightwish. Now, I'm trying to kind of centralize the colors where I want them. Like, I want to do the flowers in this beautiful deep purple and kind of go with it, but I'm not going to be upset if the colors kind of meld into each other. And that's kind of what I'm going for. So where I'm putting them in carefully and trying to keep them as separate as possible, when they blend as it dries, I'm okay with that. It'll just kind of give it like a softer finish around in those areas where it's blending as opposed to a hard line that it would if I was to say fill the flowers, let it cure, and then go on to the next piece and, you know, take 450 years to do this one piece. So it'll be okay. Now, when I look at these colors, I believe on the website, because I can't find it on the actual bottles themselves, it in English it says that it's part of the colors or the Starry Color series, and it gives the color, but it doesn't say if it's actually like a pigment paste or if it's an alcohol ink. And when you put it into the resin, it has like almost I guess similar features to maybe like a ghost pigment, in that the way that it has the shimmer and you can kind of get other colors-ish coming out of it, but at the same time not, because it is clearly, you know, a specific color, but it does have a pearlescent look to it and a sheen. But when you drop it in to your resin, you know how like when you drop in alcohol ink, it kind of does the whole movement stuff where the alcohol is reacting, I guess, to the resin and the color and whatever, and it kind of just moves around and dances a little bit on the top of your resin. That's what this does. But on the site, if I'm not mistaken, it advertises it as a pigment paste, or a pigment dye, excuse me, a pigment dye. So I don't know, because none other of my pigment dyes that I have react this way when I drop it in the resin. So I'm not really sure. Now, the one thing that I have noticed is if you want that color like super packed in there, you are going to have to use a lot, to where I squeezed in a good squeeze of it when I was putting in these little cups. And you can see I'm only using like a couple milliliters of resin, and I squeezed quite a bunch in there to get that color into it, because it is a very, very translucent, very, very faint color that you get if you were to just use drops. Like in the same amount of resin that I have in these cups, if I were to use, say, my Let's Resin alcohol inks, I could color it in with 1 drop. 2 at the most, like, and it would be colored to the darkness and the depth that I want it colored. This is not the same. But having said all of that, I think the colors are really gorgeous. And I know that they do have a lighter set too, to where they're more, I guess, pastel-y kind of colors that are gorgeous, and I wouldn't mind trying them as well at some point. But yeah, overall, the colors are gorgeous. I do like them. They are dark, but again, that is what I chose, was the darker ones. And you do have to use a little bit more to pigment your resin if you want it this pigmented. Now, obviously, you can just use a little bit and you'll get that lighter kind of tone with the almost glitter type effect, that shimmer in there. Like if you were to use a mica powder, it has that kind of shimmer to it. Anyway, on back to the project. So I'm just filling out all of these little spaces. Now, one of the flowers has like a bigger flower behind it, so I'm just going in with the blue just to kind of do a little bit of separation in that purple so that it's not all quite the same color. And then I'm just going to fill around all of the rest of the kind of indented areas with these colors, and then I'm going to let this cure overnight. And we're going to come back and we're going to do the backing of this piece afterwards. Now, you could probably do this a couple of different ways with this mold. Because all of the pieces connect as far as to what I'm doing now, like if you didn't want to put the background on here and you just wanted it to be more of a, let's say for lack of better terminology, a lacy type effect, you could very easily, after this cured, take this piece out now, like it is, and have it just like this, and not even have the background on there. So you could do it a couple different ways and just have the designs that you have created with your resin and then be done with it. Like some other, I forget what they're called, but there's other molds that are very similar to this. Okay, so let me know, guys, from this point on in the video, I have my new light set up. I'm still kind of fiddling with it because I'm not sure how it looks best when I am seeing this as I edit this video and I'm doing the voiceover. I am seeing it on like a 3x3 inch screen, so I'm not seeing it how you guys would see it, and it's really hard for me to tell, especially across all different devices, what the lighting looks like for you guys. So if you can let me know if this lighting is good or if you're still getting that glare and whatever, I can fiddle with it some more and try and set it up differently. But yeah, just let me know what you think of the lighting, like I said, from this point in the video on. Okay, back to the video. Now this is 24 hours later. I've mixed my resin up and I'm going with HTV Ront White pigment paste in it, along with some of that super sparkle that I got from my Rolio and the pearl white. And I'm cleaning up with a piece of tape just any little overspills that I had, that drips and whatever that have dried. I'm just going over there and cleaning it up so that it's not in my finished piece. Going over slowly with this. Now, I didn't want the complete sheen of a mica powder because I want those colors from the Lightwish to shine. Like, I want to be able to tell what they actually look like when they're dry, and I didn't want to ruin it putting a mica powder behind it. I did add some of the super sparkle to give it a little of a glittery type effect, but it's different than the sheen that a mica powder has, if that makes sense. So filling it in with white. Now the reason I chose white is because I want to see again what these colors look like, and I don't want this piece like crazy ridiculously dark. I already have a lot of dark colors on there from the colors that I used previously, so I need to brighten it up some. So going over with the heat gun to pop any bubbles, we're going to let this cure and we're going to go on to the next step. Okay, 24 hours later, it's all nice and cured. Now it's time to see how these colors actually really look. The mold, I mean, it demolds super easy, super brilliantly. Yeah. So I'm curious to see how these colors look, and I like them. I do like the colors. Now, looking at this piece, the backing of this, where I did the white, it does have a texture to it. And of course, there's a few spots that once the resin started pooling and settling, it didn't quite cover the color like I hoped it to. but it's looking a little plain and I feel like it needs something more. So what I'm going to do now is, and yes, I could have done this at the beginning, but I thought I would be happier with it. So I'm going in with some rose red pigment, and I'm just going to fill in where all of the white is with that, hoping that it'll bring it up some, change, I don't know, add to it whatever I feel like it's just missing something. I don't know. It's pretty, don't get me wrong. I do like it, but I need it to be more. Like, I don't want to just like it. I want to love it, you know? And so I'm going to go in very, very carefully and kind of drip this in. I don't want to get it into the spots that I don't want it, all over the place, so I have a huge cleanup. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to do it. So I thought maybe a syringe, and I wasted time, and I was going to cut this part out, but I decided not to, that you could see, because I've never used a syringe before in resin. So I thought this would work, but all it did was the resin just kept pouring out of it. Like, it didn't stop. So that wasn't a good thing. So wasted syringe there. And yes, I know I could clean it, but I was being lazy and I did not. And I was kind of irritated. So I figured that the best way is to kind of just do what I was already doing. I know I could use a pipette. I personally hate them, and it wouldn't be a whole heck of a lot different than that syringe-ish. I mean, they don't shoot out resin quite as fast as this was flowing, but it's whatever. It's fine. So in the teeny tiny little spots, I kind of just took my toothpick and dripped it in drop by drop just to get it to kind of fill up in those little tiny itty bitty holes. But I mean, it took a while. It was a process, but I got there in the end, and I like the rose color up against these darker colors. I think it looks really, really pretty, but it's not going to be just a heart. Like, I'm not going to just do a heart. Like, I can't. It's not in me. So we need to do something else with this to make it more functional. And that's what we're going to do next after I'm done, while we wait for this to cure. Okay, so as I'm finishing this up, I just want to thank all of you for the love that you showed for the last video. I was super disappointed in it, and you guys you made it all okay, and I really thank you from the bottom of my heart for that. Also, everyone who responded to my question about eco pores, I decided that I was going to try the Resin-Crete, so I will be fooling around with that here shortly and seeing what we can do with that. So I am super excited about that. All right, back to the video. So I just got this little board wall hanging thing from the dollar store, and I decided that I'm going to paint this white, and we're going to make this into like a door wreath, but not wreath. I don't know. Some door art, I guess. Essentially. Words are not my friend today, guys. Anyway, so I'm just going over with some acrylic paint and titanium white, and we're just going to do this real quick. I'm going to get 2 coats on, just the front and the sides. I'm not concerned with the back at all. And after this dries, then we're going to take it, a few steps farther, because it's not going to just be plain white. Now, all said and dried, now I found these keys, and again, in my head when I was doing this, my initial, want was to make it something geared more towards, couples, weddings, engagements, stuff like that. So I thought the keys would be a nice additive. Now, I still decided that even though this is looking really pretty, it did dry darker for some reason than what it looked like when I was putting it on. So I wanted to do something else. So I got these they're like nail rhinestones, and they're like a lot smaller. Like, if I had known that they are this small, I wouldn't have bought them. But they are like itty, itty, itty bitty. And I decided that to kind of just add a little something, something to these flowers, along the purple flowers where the middle is raised up on the petals, I'm going to add these clear gemstones to it. Now, I'm just taking a little bit of diamond glue, and I'm using my silicone tool, brushing it onto each of the areas that I want to do it, and then one by one taking these tiny little pieces that are so small you can almost not tell which side's the top and the bottom on these clear ones, and sticking them on here, and then I'm going to wait for this to dry. This was a process. This was a real pain in the butt to do, but I think it added just a little bit. Now, granted, they are so small. Like the tip of my silicone tool, that tip on those pointy tools, you guys know what I'm talking about. Like that's how small these little rhinestones are. I mean, look at that. They are itty bitty. But I wanted to add a little bit of more interest to this because, like I said, it was a little plain and a little boring. The blurriness will go away here in a second, guys. My camera didn't refocus again and it's being stupid. So, yeah. Anyway, it it adds a little something to it, and that's what I wanted to do, and I still need to brighten this up a little bit more. So, what my plan is now is after I'm done doing all of these flowers, we're going to get our gold paint pens out and we are just going to add some gold to it and brighten it up in certain areas, and also get rid of that white that's still showing where the color kind of shrunk away when it was curing and the background is there. And then the same on the flower that I'm working on now where that white is. I don't want it to be white. It looks off. It's throwing it off. So we're going to go and we're going to hide that. And this is just going to accent it a little bit in some of the areas. And I'm focusing more towards this bottom part where the inside of that blue flower is, just to kind of break it up and again, like brighten it up. So just going over it super fast. I'm making sure I'm getting all of the edges around there carefully so that I don't get it into the resin where I don't want it to be. And then we're going to be done with this part. We're going to get some flowers. We're going to get some glitter. We're going to get some hearts. I had some leftover rose red resin left, and the heart molds, those puffy heart molds that I used a few videos back, I've been just kind of playing around with them, and I had some clear resin left one day and I poured just a little bit in and dropped those Starry Color series in a couple of them just to kind of see if it acted the way that alcohol inks would. I didn't put any Sinker White or anything on it, but I just wanted to see. So I backed the couple that I did with that in the rose red that I had left over, and then I did some just plain ones. So we're going to add those to this as well, just to, again, add a little bit more interest to this piece as we finish it off. Going in, filling in the inside of those flowers, and then we are done with this. And I think it looks way better. It looks a little bit brighter. That gold really just adds to it. And now it's time to put this baby together. So our board is all nice and dry. Now what I'm going to do is I'm taking my gloss varnish, and I picked out the rose gold Suyln extra fine glitter, and then some iridescent. It's like a dark pink. It really matches that rose, and that's in the middle, that rose red color of resin that I used. And I'm going to put this on to the wood as well. So my first initial thought on this was, and I did cut it out, I was going to do swirls, and then I was like, no, this looks stupid. So we're just going to kind of get our silicone spatula thing, and I'm just going to kind of smooth it out in diagonal lines, alternating between this and the rose gold, just to add something to it. Like, you'll be able to see the white. I'm not packing it in there. And it adds just a little background to it. So it's not just this plain boring white where these pieces are just like popping off. And, I don't know. Like, if when I'm looking at it right now, it doesn't look the greatest on this white. But the white needs some color to it. And I didn't want to paint. I wanted it to be glitter. I want it to be just really different and unique. And that's what I'm going for. So we're just kind of going to throw this glitter on here and then kind of blend it all out a little bit so I don't have these harsh lines. And the gloss varnish works wonders for this. It only took a couple of minutes to dry. What I did was after I was done doing the whole thing, because I didn't want to wait, 20, 30 minutes for it to fully dry before I started on the next part. And I didn't feel like getting glitter all over myself, more than what's normal when you're working with glitter. So I took my heat gun, I just ran it over it for like, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes, and it dried amazingly fast. And the glitter stays on. Like, I didn't get any glitter on me at all from this. And you know how when you're working with glitter, glitter's everywhere. It's like a part of your soul when you work with glitter. um, so yeah. So now we're going in here with the gold and just kind of going over it, scraping it off the edges, because the way I was doing it, it is kind of clumping off to the side and falling off, but it's fine. And then I'm going to take it and I'm going to go over top of the pink with it just to kind of make it blend a little bit more. You can't really tell right now the way that the video looks, and there is that stupid glare on the white paint, and I apologize for that. I guess I'm going to have to move that light. I don't know. It could be just because of the white, but yeah. So going over it again and trying to fill up where, of course, I guess it started to dry when I did this stupid swirly thing. But in the end, it's not going to matter because I can cover that up and you're not even going to notice that it's there. And it's already looking better. Like, I know you guys are probably like, I don't know about this. I promise. It looks, I like the finished piece. Like, I think it looks really, really, really pretty. In fact, I have it hanging out on my front door right now as we speak. So going in at a little bit more pink, because at first I was going to leave that spot where the heart was going to be behind, but then I realized that it wasn't going to cover the whole thing because I want it off center. I don't want it up and down. I want it kind of cocked to the side a little bit. So I'm going to go in here and just finish this off, adding a little bit more of this beautiful, gorgeous pink. And then I'm gonna let this dry real quick, and then we're gonna go on to the next step on this project, which is kind of just putting it all together now. So I've got my hot glue gun heating up, and we're going to get some flowers. We're going to get those keys that I'd picked out and just kind of go with it and find the hearts and figure it all out where it's going to go, that it looks the best. And I guess you could still do something like this for a wedding or an engagement party or whatever, and just go more towards the colors of whatever the bride and groom pick, and still make it something to where, I mean, not everybody has tens and thousands of dollars, whatever, to pay for a wedding. And honestly, if it was my wedding, maybe not in these particular colors, but in other colors, I think it would be pretty, So it could for sure be used. So now I'm just trying to figure out how I want the placement of these flowers to kind of fill this up, where I'm going to stick the keys, how I'm going to stick the keys. At first I had thought about putting them on some ribbon. Tied them on ribbon, and then I decided that no, I didn't like that, how that was going to be. So I'm just going to glue them on at the end, and then sticking on the little hearts. Now, in my head at the time, not only are they, just extra for it that kind of go with it, but it could also represent, I mean, there's so many families now, like things have changed so much from, 30 years ago, where like nobody was really getting divorced, and there was no, I don't want to say there was no broken homes, but the whole having kids from other marriages or whatever was a lot different back then than it is today. And today you're not just marrying the person you're marrying into whatever kids and whatever that they have. So the hearts could be, maybe children that they have too, because it's a vow that you're taking. You're not just one person anymore. Now you're more than one person, because the kids come into account as well. And it could be one heart represents each child that maybe you have. Just it could be anything. That's kind of where my mind was going when I did this, and I think it's a neat idea. And then, the keys representing the husband and wife or whatever. And I don't know. I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be Valentine's Day. It could still be how I intended. It just kind of looks Valentine's Day-ish. But whatever. It is what it is. You know, art is open to all kinds of interpretations, so you can see what you want to see, and you could, pick it, go with something completely different, or maybe you love the idea and it works and it'll work for you. I don't know. I like it. I think it's really, really pretty. And yeah, like I said, I mean, I've got it hanging up. All right, so we're just going to put these keys on, and then that's it. And that's a wrap on this one, guys. Stay tuned for the glamour shots, and, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I will catch you on Saturday for the next one, which may be, just maybe, my best piece yet. I will see you guys then. Love ya. Bye.